Hey, streamers.
You've made the world laugh, cry, cheer as one. Most importantly, you've made the world watch. For that, we want to thank you. Today, we honor the ones who put in the work for the love of the game.
Cutting the feed in 5.
You casted aside your individualistic dreams and came together as one voice.
4.
We need more time. It has to be now. Get ready.
You trained them to mash that subscription button and to come back for more. Always more.
2.
They try to be you. They envy what you have.
1.
And to celebrate, we're releasing a limited time edition skin of what?
You don't know me, and I can't see you, but whoever you are, you need to hear this. This started off beautiful. We built something great, something that brought us together, a place to call home, to talk, to learn, to play, any respite from the world and its unforgiving storms. And then they came.
My face on the screen now!
They came with their plans, with their greed, with their hope. They told us that we were great, and they were right. They told us that we were worth something, and they were right. We are worth something. And it's that same big, beautiful truth that they used against us. They didn't inspire some huge cover-up, some grand conspiracy. They just simply whittled away at who we used to be. So I say it ends today. Boost this signal and then log off, shut down, touch grass. Don't forget that we did this before. We did this before, not them. We can build it again. Build it better. With autonomy, with creative freedom, with fair compensation. We choose where we put our time, where we put our love. The rebellion has a new name.
Moonbeam.
Moonbeam.
A future where we forge our own path at our own pace, where we compensate ourselves fairly and protect each other from hate. They thought those things wouldn't matter, but they do. And we'll do it without them. Together. Today. Spread the word. From here, how far we go, who escapes with us, we control that outcome. It's up to us now. For the love of the game.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
All right, Pat, I'm excited to be here. How you feeling?
So excited. Yeah, very, very excited for this and super grateful to LiveStreamFail for helping us organize this. We're pumped.
Yeah, and Taro Card, thank you for joining us and inviting us to do an AMA with you and your community. We are ready and pumped and excited to dive into the really tough, awesome questions that you have and dig into that. So you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about your community, and then we'll jump into the demo and then questions after that.
Absolutely. I am excited as well. So I am Taro Card. I run r/LiveStreamFail, which is one of the largest kind of gaming and live streaming kind of related subreddits on Reddit. It's a lot of streamer news, a lot of funny clips, and to be fair, a lot of drama. Mm-hmm. And so kind of a bit about myself and kind of why I reached out to you guys. I'm very interested in competing kind of streaming platforms. I follow Twitch, YouTube, Kick, Mixer back in the day. And I saw you guys, some information about you guys, so I decided to just kind of reach out to you to kind of host an AMA. This isn't sponsored or anything. It's just, I thought it was a cool thing to kind of talk about.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, thanks for having us. So Pat, if you want, we can jump into the demo here and get going.
That sounds great.
Yeah. All right. Well, so Taro and everybody else who's listening out there, what we're pulling up here is a realm on Moonbeam. And I can kind of give you a little bit of background of why this looks so kind of weird, but yet familiar, like a Discord meets Twitch kind of approach. And that's because we looked at, for 18 months, Pat and I have been obsessively studying and researching the problem in live streaming. Every platform is kind of failing. They fail on multiple metrics. They fail on a business model. They are not profitable. They are failing to give streamers an audience. 94% of streamers right now have an audience size of 0 to 5. Those numbers are really bad, and that's not the streamer's fault. There's something fundamentally flawed going on. Also, monetization. 99.9% of streamers are making below the minimum wage. So when we came in and we're looking at this problem, we saw that there is a fundamental problem that is far beyond just having a live streaming platform with a different color scheme and a different revenue split for creators. It's just something fundamentally flawed about everything and every platform right now. And so our research kind of led us to a very interesting conclusion that we're going to talk about in the demo here we'll go to. And that is that all these live streaming platforms are built around a singular construct, which is the channel, the streaming channel. And a streaming channel is a online space that a streamer has where they can engage with their audience and their community, and it can grow and thrive, but only when they're live, okay? And so what does that mean? It means that for these channels to kind of grow and engage with people, they have to incur the massive bandwidth costs. That is literally a lot of the questions were about, how do you sustain a platform? Well, that's part of the problem right there. Is a platform that is built around these things that must always be on and incur that high cost is fundamentally never going to work, okay? So Moonbeam is not that. And the second thing is it leads to creator burnout, because now as a creator, you have to always be live to grow, to thrive, to earn money. And that leads to perpetual streaming, which again leads to burnout and then churn. So what you're seeing here is how we identified a solution, which is a realm approach. So a realm is like a Discord server that an individual or a group of people can kind of open up. They don't even have to be live streamers. They could just be community organizers or moderators, things like that. People who build and have a community. And then they can invite other creators in to their realm to live stream. And we don't have a false scarcity model. Moonbeam is not exclusive. We want everyone to stream everywhere. We're streaming on Twitch right now because we believe we should always be streaming on any platform we're able to stream on. Same thing on Moonbeam. Creators can simulcast into different realms, so you're never locked into one place. And so now I'm going to orient you to the demo view here. In this realm, you'll see on the left-hand side the kind of chat that looks very similar to Discord. It's on par with it. This is being built to be exactly like Discord with emojis, reactions, and GIFs. And on the right-hand side, you're going to see the live streamers. There's 3 of them right now. These are, imagine 3 different live streamers talking about cooking. This is a cooking realm. So a lot of the community here would engage about recipes, things like that. And they could live stream directly in here. And what's really cool is if you're an audience member, a fan, a viewer, you're now getting this co-located content about this very cool thing you like. So that's really neat. If we want to scroll down, we're going to see posts. Posts are maybe very familiar to your community, kind of like Reddit in a way, with these kind of threads and asynchronous communication. These do, like Reddit, go into Google. They're SEO searchable. So this helps with discoverability, because now you have, unlike Discord, which information is just lost and never kind of found, it doesn't lead anywhere. There's a way where people can have more long-term content that exists for a long time and can, again, enrich the community they're in. So if we want to jump into one of those live streams, we'll see how this kind of works. So if we click on any one of the live streamers there, we're now watching them. And you'll see a comment up there. I'm going to write something else now. There's a sentiment tag there kind of sparkling. That is Pixis. So I'm going to say, hey, everyone, what's up? Let's see here. What's up? And what Pixis is Pixis is Pat. I'm going to hand it over to Pat in a second to talk about exactly what that is. But it is the best moderation tool that I believe has ever been invented, and Pat is the creator of it. And this is a moderation tool that is used to help moderators and creators and community leaders kind of set the vibe for their community and what is or is not allowed. Right now, people are not empowered on most platforms to kind of really fine tune their community space. There's like a one size fits all kind of approach that the platform sets and establishes. And with Pixis, we now have this amazing tool where in a society where we don't censor information or we don't censor speech, we can empower individuals with the freedom of choice of what kind of content they want to engage with. Okay, so this is a philosophically interesting approach to thread the needle between what is not censorship, but also why a lot of social media platforms have been struggling to deal with toxic speech, hate speech, and harassment. And this tool gives us that. So Pat, do you want to talk a little bit real quick about Pixis while we have it up, the sentiment there? And I'm going to write a message that's kind of going to get flagged here, and we can go into that. But I'm going to write one message that doesn't get flagged and one that does. So Pat, while I do that, you can chat.
Yeah, that sounds great. And great intro to the platform and general features and kind of our philosophy there. Pixis is an interesting take on moderation. There are kind of two ways that we view moderation, right? There's one, what type of content do we allow to be on the platform, right? Like, what are our terms of service? And then there's also the kind of more granular approach to moderation. What do you, as a person who runs the realm or a viewer, what sort of content do you want to see? And Pixis is more than just an auto moderation solution that is looking for keywords. What it does is it's set up to learn from you, to like work with your moderators in your community and help them make decisions consistently across the board, to learn what is maybe not allowed, what's on the line, to make their jobs easier, right? So that's like the design of Pixis. That's what we've done here. And as you see, we go a little bit beyond just keywords. And we're really about kind of understanding some of the sentiment behind them, because people are good at skirting moderation. You know, that is the ever evolving dance of a moderation solution. And so what we want to do is go just a step beyond looking at whatever the latest bag of words is to prevent from being seen on the platform, and look for, is that message aggressive? Is that message kind of coded? Is that like trying to maybe disguise a word? And Pixis is quite good at picking those things up. Now we see, and I'll turn over to Anthony to kind of continue with the demo, but we saw that two of these messages were sent. One was a very interesting example that I'm sure we'll talk about, that is an actual compliment, right? Yo, Pat, you're the shit. That is something that can be very uplifting and encouraging and complimentary. And then another one, see, Pixis is like old tech. It is not built around static phrases, right? Kind of just a neutral comment. But one was flagged. So I'll turn it over to Anthony at this point.
Yeah. So if you click on the flag there, what we're going to see is the moderation queue here. The message that I sent that was caught. It's blurred out. So initially, again, in all the research we did building up to Moonbeam, we looked at how harassment affects not only creators, but the moderation community with the negative mental impacts that incurs, right? Seeing a ton of negativity, vitriol, things that you shouldn't see is bad. So we have here, it's blurred out, but if we hover over the thing that was flagged for insulting by Pixis, you'll see, yo, Pat, you are shit. This is a very cool example because as Pat built Pixis and we started messing around with it, we started to realize like this really does capture nuance in like human language that a auto mod or an older form of sentiment analysis just doesn't catch. They're built more around the key phrases or the word itself, and would identify shit as like a profanity thing. And then we have where you could, allow this. Let's say this was like a joke phrase or something. If you allow it, Pixis will learn. And then in your realm, in your area as a creator, this will be allowed and it won't be kind of flagged again. So Pixis is a tool that's very modular and is going to be able to give creators and communities very fine-tuned curation of what their environment is like. So when people ask, how does Pixis decide what is bad or what is good? It's really you. You as the individual, this is you. You are empowered by these things. Now we'll have an overarching terms and services of things that are and aren't allowed. But Pixis is a tool to help you within those limits allow things or not allow things. And that, I think, is the beauty of this approach, is it really takes that power away from the platform itself, and it empowers the creators. Now, if you go to moderation settings there, Pat, on the tab, we're going to see these are different categories where you can fine-tune Pixis. Again, these are very early stages, so these tools at full launch might be a lot more in-depth or different as they appear. But profanity, harassment, self-harm, hate speech, adult content. And then we have, your old school static keyword kind of phrase stuff there. So we're really excited because this is going to make places just a better place for you to live online. It's going to make the internet a better place. And this technology, at the end of the day, Pixis alone is not only helping creators and communities to grow and thrive and get to that angle, it's literally impacting people's lives in a way that they're no longer harmed. So Pat, we can go back to the main realm view if you want. And Taro, if you have any questions here, we can kind of take a moment and pause and talk about some things. This is a lot of new stuff, so I don't want to go through everything all at once because it might be a little bit overwhelming to digest. So what do you think what we have so far? And are there any questions that we might be able to talk about right now?
I do. I mean, yeah, because I had looked up kind of some of your pitches ahead of time. And I mean, yeah, we can deep dive into kind of any of it. So we could just start off with kind of realms. And actually, even before that, are you guys related to like tabletop role-playing games in any way? I saw a lot of marketing and stuff that you guys were related to that, but it wasn't exactly clear from your pitch. How are role-playing games related to anything you guys are doing?
Pat, do you want to start and then I could chime in after?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, we love tabletop. That is our kind of our favorite genre of media, actual plays, right? All of it, the DM advice, the tips. So long story short, no, this is a platform that will support any type of content, any genre. But we want to roll out very strategically, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, with some of the monetizations and the cost questions. We don't want to just open up to everybody on day one. We want to make sure that we're delivering a product that meets expectations and that can handle the bandwidth requirements from having every genre, every game available on the platform. We're starting in tabletop because we love tabletop. It aligns so well with our brand values of, well, being a welcoming and inclusive space. And there's also a lot of these collaboration aspects already built in to the tabletop genre. So we are related to tabletop in that we're really going after tabletop creators and building products for them. But that is not the end goal. We want to support tabletop, be the best platform in the world for tabletop creators, and take that platform into new spaces and other genres, other games.
Yeah, and to kind of build on that, so I am an award-winning game designer in the tabletop space. I do that on the side outside of my main job. And through that I've been doing that for 6 years. And through that, we saw a lot of the issues that live streaming has for creators. I was a guest live streamer on many different actual plays, and we saw this inability to share revenue. And so later on, we'll show you the kind of features we have where revenue splits and collaboration is inherently built into Moonbeam, because we have seen firsthand how building tabletop role-playing game products, whether it's a book or a board game or anything like that, requires a team of people, and the same with video content. To make awesome, amazing video content like we're doing here, even we have Dan Munoz, who is producing this AMA for us, right? And Twitch right now doesn't have a way for like him to get money if, for example, this live stream were generating revenue of some sort. It would rely on us to do this off platform. Moonbeam does this all inherently because in publishing, all of these kind of mechanisms are the standard. And so we brought a lot of concepts from the creative process of that to here. There's a lot of overlap. Critical Role was one of the largest live stream earners. That's from tabletop. So that community is very active with live streaming. So the kind of Venn diagram made sense. And so that's how we're related to it. But again, like Pat said, we are for all types of content.
Okay, so it really is about that collaborative kind of like cross community stuff is what you're saying. I mean, that's what I kind of noticed about Realms in general, because, having multiple creators stream to the same kind of channel or be, sharing revenue, it seems, very, very cross collaborative, which I think is a lot different from existing streaming platforms where you have these creators who are kind of like fighting and competing against each other for like getting the tops of the directory. Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. There is a false scarcity that is happening with live streaming, right? And there's this competition that's kind of being injected. The data speaks for itself. Like, this isn't my opinion. It's a very objective thing. Supply and demand problem. There are not enough viewers for the supply of streamers. 57% of an entire generation, Gen Z, wants to be a influencer or streamer as their #1 career choice. That's a big thing, a big reality. And so when we pit streamers by themselves in isolated channels and have them compete for an audience that simply doesn't exist, they're set up for failure. But again, the reason why this is occurring is the live streaming platforms are set up and they demand the churn to even exist. For example, if everybody on Twitch today decided to not stream, Twitch would be a dead thing. It would have nothing. There'd be no use there for anyone to go. On Moonbeam, if everybody decided to stop live streaming, guess what? Because of the way the realm's set up, there would still be very lively engagement and a thriving community. So we could see fundamentally, like at its very base core, is that these live streaming platforms, they demand this work. They demand this churn, this perpetual live, and that pits creators against each other. And on Moonbeam, we don't want that. I don't even think that's good. I think that with the realm, like right here with the 3 creators, they're not competing with each other. What they're doing is they're having a network effect of leveraging and compounding the audience growth. Because if I'm a creator, I want to be working with you and with Pat so that this supply that we're trying to get, which is an audience, is like growing exponentially. And then I'm also benefiting from cross-pollination of your viewers finding me and your community finding the stuff I do and vice versa. And that is where collaboration is in any type of video content creation, all the way to the first movie ever being made. It always relied on a team of people. So it should make us really question that if everybody in the world is saying, even in the questions on your Reddit was how audacious that anyone would try to make a live streaming platform. Even the best live streaming platform is not profitable. Well, we should beg the question, what is unique about this as a video form of content? It's that streaming right now is fundamentally flawed. It takes the creative process and it makes it an individual thing. And every other form of art in video requires teams of people. So we start there. And you see how that is, I believe, that's like part of our thesis, is that we believe this core foundational structure with live streaming platforms is flawed for many reasons, and isolating individuals is one of them. So I hope that gives some insight. Pat, you can add anything if you want there, but
yeah. No, I think that sums up our philosophy nicely. Channels were the thing to do. Channels are kind of like the default. It was pioneered by YouTube. It was pioneered by Twitch. It's pioneered by every content distributor out there. And it becomes the feature that you have to have, the way that you have to organize your platform. If you're building a new platform, everybody's just, what are channels? Like, I just want a channel. And when you look at the data, when you actually kind of experience it, when you see the results of these one-to-one creator output relationships, it doesn't paint a bright picture, right? It doesn't seem like a sustainable business model. It doesn't seem like the thing to do. And so we changed it. Realms are the fundamental building block of Moonbeam. Collaboration is built in with real infrastructure that supports it. We don't just give lip service to saying, oh, you need to collaborate. We provide the infrastructure to do that. And when you do that, you have incredible new ways of engagement. You have incredible, awesome ways of building an audience, of being a sustainable creator, of not burning out, and that's what we see here, and that's what we're excited to prove with this product.
Yeah, so I do have some comments on that, because I absolutely agree that all the data shows that cross collaboration is kind of what makes streamers kind of grow. This is so obvious that if you look at a lot of the stuff that Twitch is doing, they have kind of thrown their entire company right now, almost to their detriment, of trying to get to this goal. If you guys know about, so I just to mention to you guys, I did an AMA with the Twitch CEO about a month or two ago, and related to that, one of their big features is called Guest Star. If you guys heard of that one, where you have a kind of cross streaming, it's like a Discord, Google Meets thing where you have multiple people streaming at once. I guess clearly they want to do collaboration stuff as well. Do you have an opinion on like why maybe that's the bad solution, or why your stuff is better? Because their stuff has clearly failed in most people's opinions.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, that is a recent example, but there are other examples of Twitch's history. I mean, going back to like 2017 and 2019 of features where they try to build new ways of engaging, and where they start to feel more like a social media and less like a distribution method. The way we view Twitch in this example, but also extends to every contender in the space that uses channels, it's infrastructure. Right? It is the way of distributing content. And if you want to compete with them, yeah, you need lower costs. Like, that's what you got to do. When you build a product, you build an identity for that product. You build the use cases. And those use cases, the fundamental use cases, are baked in from the get-go. The infrastructure is designed to support those use cases. That's fundamentally difficult to change. What's worse is that the culture you create, the expected use of this product, kind of becomes self-fulfilling. Many features were shut down that probably had great promise on the drawing board, but it's because that's not what people use that platform for. Pivoting to a new outlook, pivoting to, okay, yeah, we have, we've figured out kind of a cost structure that can maybe work if we have this collaboration piece. That's only successful if that's what your product is from the beginning. Otherwise, creators are going to be confused. They're going to say, how do I use this tool? And also, how do I trust that this tool will stay around so I can actually build my brand around it? That is something that I don't think Twitch has figured out, or any other contender has figured out. They focused on the means of distributing content, and not the way that that content actually exists in a social media space. Creators have given their feedback on those other features, and they're not used. They're not used. And my bet is that it's because that's not what people use Twitch fundamentally for. That's why we're baking it in from the get-go here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some things to think about, Taro, like when you think about collaboration on Twitch and all the attempts that they're doing, and I again applaud them because we all know that that's the way forward for sustainability. Yeah. But again, all those collaborative tools that they're building, what do they require? They require those people to be online and consume very high cost bandwidth, and all they're doing is sharing an audience. They're not growing it. They're just sharing. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. It's still the same amount of people. They're not like getting extra people. The supply is just not there. And so when they're not live, again, when they're not collaborating, when they're just offline, they're dead. Their discoverability is a fat zero. It doesn't matter if you're the most famous live streamer in the world. When you're offline, your growth is zero. That's crazy. For like any social media platform to function that way, it's not a social media platform. I mean, it's like a social media platform that's a very costly one to do the thing it's supposed to do, which is grow, right? And so therein lies the problem, is if collaboration is still only a mechanism for you to kind of like take these two audiences and combine them into one pipeline, it has not added people to the platform. It has not added value to the creator. It still requires them to be online and doing all these things. And everybody else who's not doing that, they're not thriving either. So it's not really solving. Let me ask you this: if this did work for them, what percentage from 94% would change where they have more than 5 viewers? I mean, 5%, maybe that'd be a really great number. But then that still means like 90% of people aren't. So there's something wrong, and that's far beyond just like, hey, let's put this little patch on. And I think we love Twitch. We love everything they've done. They have pioneered this. But my honest opinion is that they would have to restructure the website so much it would not be Twitch anymore. It would be Moonbeam, like essentially. So kind of that's where our thinking is.
Yeah, that does make sense. Maybe these features don't work individually, but you put them together and it's kind of a greater sum of its parts. And then I do have one more kind of like follow-up question about Realms, because there's kind of an XQC joke about how there's 13 standards We should make one that covers all of the standards, and now there's 14 standards. And that kind of sounds like what you guys are doing. You want all the social media stuff in one place. Do you have like a response to that, or why that idea might be wrong in some way?
Yeah, definitely. And I love that joke. I think that's a great one. Right now, the strategy is rolling out Moonbeam slowly, methodically, ensuring that the platform is a good platform, that it's meeting creator needs, and adding real value. We are never, well, at least we're not for the foreseeable future, going to ask people to trade all of those other platforms that they're on for Moonbeam. Moonbeam can be used alongside each and everything that they're using. It will offer, USPs that drive value for them, and will convince them, to use it over platform X or Y or Z or whatever it is. But yeah, we're not ever going to ask creators right now to say, hey, just wholesale, get rid of everything else, come join Moonbeam. We want to fight for their trust, for their faith. We want them to believe in the product, to see its value. So yeah, there are a lot of features here that are reminiscent of other platforms. And there is danger in just having one platform that is now the other 12 platforms or the other 13 platforms. But that's not the way we're rolling this out. We want people to use this modularly to help them reach their goals, whatever that is, whether they want social growth or whether they want to meet other creators or have a really thriving, healthy community. So yeah, we're not asking people to just jump ship just yet. Ideally it happens, but only when we've earned their trust in our product.
Yeah, and I think there, when we talk about creators and people in the community, and we talked about, the view might appear, this is us like having the one platform to rule them all kind of deal. But I would go further and say that this is serving an underserved community of creators, producers, moderators, audio techs, video techs. If you think of a live streaming platform, which one actually allows those people to be awesome and thrive? The answer is zero. No producer is like becoming famous and making money on a live streaming platform because the platforms are not made for them. But in movies and in TV, producers, audio techs, people behind the scenes are become famous into rights of their own, and they make money and careers of their own. And so Moonbeam is kind of like, with its collaborative nature, it is the only other place outside of like Hollywood and TV where those people can come on and make content online and distribute it and actually make money and like thrive and grow. It should be wild to us to think that like, oh, we could name TV, screenwriters and directors and movie directors, but if I'm like, name that for like an online video creator, who can do that? It's kind of weird when you think of it, but there should be like the live stream directors that are just as famous as the Hollywood ones. Why not? It's because live streaming platforms are not built to support those people. And Moonbeam is. So it's not a conglomeration of stuff. And it is hard for us to articulate. We talk about this in our own team. We have to call it a live streaming platform because that's really the only thing people will understand. Because I don't know what this is called. I'm being very honest here. What we're creating has never been done before. It will have a name eventually, but until it does, we have to frame it in a way that is kind of understandable. And live streaming is like the predominant way to understand what it does, but it's actually much more than that. And we'll figure out what that is when the time comes, but it'll be cool,
That is cool. Also, one thing that I just thought of, outside of the tabletop role-playing games, I think there is another community that would be very kind of helped by the collaboration stuff. Did you guys ever remember the streamer panels or like the Raj Royale show, or they were kind of like big drama fests, I would say, but they would have it was one of the rare examples of collaboration on Twitch, which you would have all these people kind of like fighting in like debates with like 10 people on at once. Yeah, I just thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. There are, I think that there have been approximations to this sort of workflow before, but the infrastructure has never been there to support it. And I'm
they died since then, yeah.
And I think it'll be awesome to offer that. And And what we've seen from realms that have actually already kind of onboarded to the platform, there's so much creativity that people are going to bring to this. So many use cases that we haven't even thought of. And that's honestly one of the most exciting things about it is you talk with a creator and the light bulb goes off and they say, oh my goodness, I can finally do this. And they tell you the coolest idea you've ever heard. And you're like, I didn't even think about that. Great call. Like you should definitely do that. And it's been one of the very cool privileges is talking with creators, giving them a tool that they haven't really played around with before and seeing what they do with it. It's been amazing.
Cool. So I was going to transition to start kind of asking questions about moderation, because I think that is always a huge thing that everybody always likes to argue about, we'll say. So before going into like Praxis, what is your general moderation strategy, and what is kind of the stuff allowed site-wide across the platform?
Yeah, great question. And that is a very good distinction too between the auto moderation system, Pixis, and the terms of service, right? Pixis can help us like automatically and at scale determine when something does violate the terms of service. But that's not its primary job. Its primary job is to help moderators, create a community that works with them within the guidelines that they set up. In terms of content that is allowed on the platform, we are fundamentally building an inclusive, a welcoming space, right? Those are our company values. Now, at the same time, there's like this baseline level of what the law allows, of course. So that is like one, at the very, very end of the spectrum, you can't pass that limit. And we wouldn't want to, of course. But we're going a little bit further than just saying like, hey, anything goes. As long as it's cool with the law, it's cool with us. We're trying to build a platform that uplifts people, that serves creators. Today, those guidelines that we would offer may be whatever they are, but in a month, they'll change, right? That's one thing that we've seen from the market is that when a company does say, hey, this is suddenly allowed, suddenly people take it in a way different direction to challenge the rule and make the rule better and more nuanced. So we're being very flexible with the idea of like, what specific content is allowed, but it always goes back to our values and our guidelines of being a welcoming, inclusive space. We won't compromise on those.
Yeah.
Okay,
to kind of, yeah, sorry, go ahead. To kind of just one last thing to think about is people always ask, about this kind of content, and I'm going to be very explicit here, adult content, spicy stuff, right? Let's just call it out for what it is that we want to talk about. And the thing is, like, there are platforms that exist that people would not even really think about where the spectrum of content is co-located. One that's easy to think about is like HBO Max, right? Max's app, which I have kids, I have 3 young boys, like they can watch their kiddie cartoons on there. And then you have like Game of Thrones and other stuff that's like more adult themed and even like nudity on there. So I just want to frame very like realistically, like the model for this exists and it's actually very common and it predates the internet. When you had like, pay-per-view channels back in the day. So I like contextualizing that. So it's not such an odd thing to think about, but we are making sure we have a plan and we're methodical in pursuing our other goal of making the internet a better place so that these things can coexist without anyone ever non-consensually being kind of like surprised by something they're seeing or having a jarring negative experience. We want to make sure that when you're on Moonbeam, you are seeing stuff that you actually do want to see. You're seeing and engaging with content you want to engage with. So the difference is on Twitch and other live streaming platforms, they don't have a mechanism to really do that. Like, the recent artistic nudity kind of thing that happened. Well, you don't need an account to like go to twitch.tv. You can just be some like 13-year-old kid. And then the front page is showing you just whatever's there, right? And that's like the problem, right? It's the way that they're structured. They're just showing people everything. They don't have any way to like put stuff behind a certain wall, if you will. or to verify people's age, or if they're legally allowed to consume the content. So we're thinking about all this, and the advantage is when these platforms were stood up a decade ago, maybe they didn't think about it. Like it was the Wild West, right? Like they were inventing it as they went along. But as we know with tech, it's so hard to like build something up from scratch, let alone take something that was built 10 years ago and try to make it fit this requirement in today's world. I think that's where they're struggling, and they can't do that easily. So yeah.
That does make sense. I will say that that's the kind of like the dream solution that everybody's trying to get to, whereas like, oh, okay, you could have different moderation across kind of channels. You could have like an after dark thing or something.
Yeah.
But
think about the realm. Yeah, think about the realms, right? If you had a realm that had adult content in it, we've now kind of siloed it and we know what it is. We've tagged it. It can be categorized. And like, think about a Discord server. You don't see like what's in a Discord server like on the internet. What do you have to do? You have to consensually enter there. And that's the beauty. Like that simple like mechanism for a realm like shows you like, oh crap, like there's the solution. Like, hey, you want to these realms are adult content. Oh, guess what? That means only people verified to be 18 and up can even see them at all. And if they don't want to see that stuff, there's a little option and they'll never see that stuff. But if they wanted to, they can then see all the realms that have that. But then it's like I'm opening a door. I'm consensually entering a place. Like if I was walking down the street and I walked into an establishment, right? That's very different than like the way these current live streaming platforms are set up, where you're just like, here it is, and it's just very jarring. It might be non-consensual, and that's where you get into all the why they can't allow it, and it's very hard to have a solution to that. It goes back to an infrastructure problem, but we have a plan to fix it. So
cool. That is cool. Yeah. And it does seem like you guys are at least highly curating your initial content creators, because it seems like you're basically doing like an invite only thing, both to save on costs and to like hyper focus it for a bit, right?
Yes and no. Yes, we have an initial crop of realms and creators, but the backer kit, which is live right now, that's how you get alpha access or beta access. So anyone who backs us right now, welcome to Moonbeam. So yeah,
that's cool. Okay, cool. So now I just wanted to move on to like how do you pronounce it? Praxis?
Pixis.
Pixis.
Yes, Pixis.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts on Pixis, and I think what kind of other people thought, is it's like Automod plus kind of sentiment analysis, I guess. So I also noticed it's putting like the words friendly, positive, excited. Is that stuff only viewable by the moderator, or is it viewable by like the chatter? It seemed a little bit cluttered to me at my initial thoughts were.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Right now, it is viewable to anybody. Now, there will be settings to toggle it on and off. What we've found when talking with designers, users, chatters, non-chatters especially, it's kind of scary to send your first message or make your first post in a Discord server or on the stream chat. Or even on a subreddit, right? There's like a very real barrier to entry. People feel sort of self-conscious in that moment. There's some vulnerability, like, is this going to fit in with the community? Is this going to be well received? Am I coming across the right way? Those are all things that we've heard. Pixis goes, it is not just moderation. It's meant to help people, to empower them to like explore a platform more fully while being safe to their own standards and the standards of the platform. So one thing that we love about Pixis is being able to say like, hey, when you're typing out a message, like it can tell you like, yeah, hey, that's a really positive message. It fits in with the community. That's something that, yeah, people would see and say, nice, like cool, like you're good. To kind of take away some of that barrier to entry. Those things that holds people back from participating fully in a community space. So right now, yeah, open to everybody. Anybody can see the sentiment tags. Okay. And if the sentiment tags you as like, oh wow, that was mean, and you didn't mean to say that, maybe you edit your message, or maybe you file a report with Moonbeam and say, hey, I think that Pixis needs some improvement, and then we improve the product. But maybe also it was mean, and maybe you didn't really know why you were posting it to begin with. And then you can make the changes, and it can help educate you on how you engage with the community. So we think it's a great tool just beyond even preventing toxic messages, like the toxic messages from being seen in a chat.
And then how well does it kind of like work? Because there were some questions about it in kind of the AMA. Somebody said that they had worked on sentiment analysis, and maybe it's an unsolved problem, or does it work kind of across languages, or have you solved that with your AI PhD or something that have a solution that nobody else does?
Yes, yeah, and actually that is a great, I probably should have said that at the beginning, part of the introductions. So before this, I was working on my PhD in artificial intelligence, kind of the intersection of AI and speech technology at Carnegie Mellon. And I really, really felt the drive to build something that brings value to people. And here I am now, taking a break from the PhD. So I will say this. Fundamentally, there is no such thing as 100% accuracy on moderation technology or on sentiment analysis. It is different community to community, person to person, and it makes developing a technology and a standard to measure competing products against one another very, very difficult. Because what might be acceptable for, I don't know, a Fortune 50 company on a forum that they have may not be acceptable at all to a subreddit or a Discord server that has a really, really strong identity. So these subjective differences are at the root of Pixis. Being able to learn from decisions taken by a moderator, that is fundamental to the way we designed it, because we know that there's no way for just one system to achieve perfect scoring accuracy. So in terms of how well it works, I can say I am continuously blown away by the system that we've built and implemented. It has done some really, really interesting things. We saw the example of like, you're the shit versus your shit, one of those being insulting, the other one being complimentary. Pixis has also been able to identify sarcasm, which is historically very difficult. But we're bringing great technology to a very difficult problem, and Pixis will grow. It'll grow just like Moonbeam will grow. We'll iterate and iterate, but it's in a really interesting spot right now. It can do some seriously cool things.
Yeah, and I'll kind of, so I am not the tech guy, right? Pat is the guru, but I have demoed this personally over 140 times to different people. A lot of them have even been moderators at very big tech companies. And they all come with the same thing, like, hey, we've tried to solve this problem and no one can. And we're like, hey, cool. What is the things that you've seen pass through your moderation systems? Just give it to me. And they'll give it to me live. I have no idea if it's going to get caught or not. And I'm not just, gloating here. It has caught them every single time, to include like dates. Like there's some dates associated with like white supremacist groups that are just like numbers. And if you put them in certain contexts, it will understand that as like a racist kind of, hate speech. And then I'll just say, Thero, we can, I don't want to have to convince you further this, but what I'll say is like, I would love for you and your community to send us a bunch of phrases that you think aren't, or things that might make it through Pixis. And we will post, we will do a screenshot of like what it came back as. We're going to put our money where our mouth is, because we have to make sure this technology is not a false promise. We want to, live up to what we're doing here. And the last thing I'll say is, when you think of it as an effectiveness rating to prevent certain things. So again, we're never going to get to 100%, but it's out of all the stuff that exists right now, our effectiveness rating at preventing the messages from being seen, it blows every other thing out of the water by a lot. So challenge out there for the Reddit community,
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you have something that's like so good as this and works on like live messages, you should start talking to Reddit mods, because we honestly hate moderating. We don't like doing this stuff. And so if we just had something that auto modded it for us, honestly, we would use it. Yeah.
One thing, Thero. Let me. That's a great point. This goes back to an earlier question about what makes Moonbeam different than every other live streaming platform. That technology is licensable and is a stream of revenue that we could use to sustain Moonbeam. So this technology can be used on Reddit. It could literally be given to Twitch even. So again, no other company has this kind of advantage we do. So I just wanted you to consider that too, as like, oh, we were thinking a lot about this stuff.
Yeah.
For sure, that makes sense. And even just like one more question on that, is it a, so I actually do a lot of stuff with AI myself, but it's more on the kind of the generative side. Are the new AI technologies like LLMs helping you out with this stuff, or is this just the old school machine learning, I guess is what they call it back in the day?
Yeah, no. Absolutely. Yeah, we are, again, like the product, and I see this actually, and I don't want to go on too much of a sidetrack there and keep it kind of focused to Moonbeam, but I see this in the AI space a lot. You know, there are people who they latch on to new technology and they deliver a product, and you know, the product is super cool until that like new thing comes along, and that new thing may be as groundbreaking as Transformers, or you know, retrospectively GANs or whatever it is. We are more interested in delivering value with this product than just like kind of using the latest technology. That being said, we're absolutely using the latest technology on this. But my personal approach to machine learning is that there are a lot of incredible ideas in the past that either didn't have the compute requirement there, like, you know, all of like the phenomenal early neural network stuff where, you know, the creators of it definitely are like, oh yeah, we can make this deeper, we could make this wider, but the compute power just wasn't there. There's all sorts of technologies in the past that can absolutely inform future advancements. So I am honestly just so excited to develop this technology, and we'll leverage absolutely the latest and greatest AI things. But we'll also be looking around and we'll be talking with people. You know, we'll be collecting data from moderators on how they think about moderation, and using all those insights to build the best moderation system in the world. That is a very real line of business for us. And we're so excited to bring that out. But yeah, to answer your question, short, yes, this does use kind of the latest and greatest technology. It will likely continue to as it evolves. But you know, we're really looking at other sources of inspiration than just, you know, the new paper of NeurIPS or whatever it is.
Cool. Yeah, so because we still have a bunch of questions. Let's move on to the topic of sustainability, because I think that gets into a lot of kind of the AMA kind of questions that people were kind of asking about. So I guess at the first level, what kind of like stage are you guys at? Because I guess you guys have a backer thing which raised like what, 50K or something. That's not enough to run a streaming platform. And yeah, so let's just start with that. Yeah, so like what stage you're in and where is your platform at the moment?
Yeah, amazing. We are in pre-alpha actually. So we've developed the platform that we demoed earlier is a demo version of a very real site that people have used, people have streamed on, that has had chat messages, and has even caught toxic messages that were, to be honest, sent intentionally just to see that it could, you know, we have a very small audience that we're really refining this with, and they wouldn't send toxic messages. But we're benchmarking that system in other ways using kind of standard data sets. So we are pre-alpha. We'll be launching an alpha version to our backers sometime in Q4, so stay tuned. And then depending on how that goes, how many things we need to iterate, fix, to be honest, refine, build up, then we'll be launching a beta version, ideally in Q1. After the beta, and even maybe during it, we'll open up the floodgates to more and more people. So if you want to access this technology as early as possible, the backer kit is still open. To get a spot, tiers start at $1. But that's where we're at. So that is kind of the life cycle of the product right now. Very pre-alpha, a little bit beyond an MVP, of course, as you can probably tell, but definitely not a fully functioning, feature-rich, robust ecosystem across, you know, every console, laptop, phone, smart TV. Not yet. So that's coming up.
Yeah, if I could add a little bit of stuff there, and Tara, I'm going to be like honest with you all, because I think, you know, your community deserves this, and we are coming from the same community and shoes that you all are, which is like we should all be very skeptical of anyone doing this, because right now the entire industry has 100% failure rate. Okay, so any new entrant has to be like challenged and healthy skepticism applied. But I'm going to answer your question like very specifically in terms of like sustainability. The backer kit's purpose has always never been to fund the platform itself, right? Like that's not the operating costs. We have worked with our friends and family, our close friends and family who believed in our idea and the stuff we've been doing for 18 plus months, and we have raised a substantial amount of money from that to operate Moonbeam. Now, as we're having this conversation right now, and even within your own community, we're agreeing to a certain logical norm that must be accepted, which is anyone who hears that what we're doing, they're going to be super skeptical. No one in the world has done what we've done that we're going to do successfully. Okay, so this is like what makes us the only people in the world to do this. That requires a lot more than good ideas, and it requires a lot more than me just answering this question very articulately or eloquently. It requires proof, and so the backer kit, the whole point of that, and we've been very transparent about this, is to say this is our premise. Our premise is kind of like these things, our thesis of how live streaming is failing and what the solutions are. If we went to venture capital to get funds without any social proof, they would kind of laugh at us and maybe not agree or whatever. But the backer kit shows legitimate proof. There's now quantifiable data. There's backers in the thousands now that are joining Moonbeam, and that should be very that's a huge thing, because what we're saying is like if we were crazy that people wanted a moderated, collaborative new live streaming platform, then why are people backing us and actually giving us money when the world's premier live streaming platforms are free to use? It's because they're not good enough, and they're so bad that people are giving us money. On average, from the backer kit, and the average backers are giving us over $60. That's wild for like, and it's not because of anything other than they are entrusting us. These are people who agree with us that like, yes, this problem is so bad, it does need to be solved. Moderation needs to be solved. Making a livelihood as a creator needs to be solved, and it's so important to solve it that they're entrusting us with their money as social proof to validate the concepts we have, to then seek the funding we really need to scale up and have millions of users and compete. So this is the plan, has always been friends and family funding round. Okay, check, we did that. We overexceeded too. It was kind of wild. And then we did backer kit proof. We said we're going to take a risk. No tech company ever crowdfunds. There has never been a live streaming or social media platform that's done what we've done. We took a huge gamble, and Pat and I talked. We said if we don't raise a lot of money, and if we don't raise the 10 grand we wanted to raise, Moonbeam is dead in the water. And everyone told us this. Everyone in the tech industry, they said the gamble you're making, and in crowdfunding, tech is the lowest success rate of anything. They said you're taking a huge risk. Don't do it. But Pat and I said, you know what? We're going to be responsible stewards with people's money, their time, and their resources, and we're going to take the risk now, because if this concept is not worth pursuing, we should just have it dead in the water and do something else. So I want to really lay that out, because we're doing a lot of stuff very methodically to fulfill our plan that we have to have the world's first profitable and sustainable live streaming platform on the planet. It's not an easy thing to do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. And it sounds like you could probably use that, I don't know, as evidence for the future to do the standard Silicon Valley funded startup thing, if that's I guess the route you guys want to go. Okay, so I am curious about business model. Because like, how are you guys going to make money here? Or are you just going to do the thing where you, I don't know, get a bunch of growth, spend a bunch of VC money, and then get acquired later? Or, lose money, but solve it in volume is kind of the thoughts of how these kind of, some of these growth startups go, I guess we'll be honest here.
No, that is that is very much the standard VC playbook. It is curious to think about the kind of new market forces out there, especially post like 2021 or 2022, where a lot of investors, even at the earliest stages, it's not enough to say, yeah, we're going to raise $500 million over the course of 36 months. We're going to underprice everybody else, and then when we're the only ones left in the market, that's when we increase our margins, right? That has been used to great effect by companies that are still around and now profitable. But that's not what we want to do. We don't think that's sustainable. We don't think that's responsible. And we don't think that we can guarantee value for creators using that approach. That puts us at the whim of the market. That puts us at the whim of a potential competitor, right? That puts us out of control. And one thing that we have to ensure, no matter what we do, is that we're delivering value for creators, that we're solving problems that matter. And you can't necessarily do that if your company's run by people who just want to make kind of some false promises and then later increase the margins at the expense of the creators. So that's not our strategy, right? Our strategy has always been, always will be, roll out this product slowly, right? Observe the actual behavior, see how much the realm structure saves on costs, right? Actually measure it. We have our projections, we have our estimates. They're estimates, they're projections. But we're in a place where we can actually roll this out and get the real data. So we know what we need to do from a revenue perspective. It is no secret that a lot of these live stream platforms are not profitable and that there isn't a clear path towards profitability. That's not going to be the shoes we're in with VC money or investor money. We don't want to be in that position. So we have a couple monetization techniques. We have a couple revenue streams structured that we think play so well with the Realm approach, with flexibility, with modularity, with creator value. They address problems that we've experienced. So we have a couple ways of doing that. I'll let Anthony actually talk about Moonstones, which is kind of like the primary way of us making money. But it all feeds nicely into this ecosystem that we're building so that we can actually scale up responsibly and not be at the whim of market or a capital raise or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, this is something that, again, goes back to our unique approach to rollout. We rejected the premise of user growth and then figure it out later for monetization. We're being very transparent and open, and we have a monetization structure in place right now. And it's all Moonstone. So you know how on Twitch and other platforms you'll have like, you could do Twitch bits or you could do US dollars and subscribe to people. Yep. Okay, imagine if we have Moonstones, which are inspired by a digital good like Twitch bits or V-Bucks, whatever. That's the only way money gets transferred on our platform. It's a singular thing, and it's Moonstones. Each Moonstone is worth a penny, okay? But you buy Moonstones from us, from Moonbeam, and we take our cut there at the point of sale when an individual buys Moonstones. So you buy a bunch of, you could buy like, 750 Moonstones for like $10, give or take, right? But when people buy their Moonstones, they're walking around Moonbeam now. They see something they like, they subscribe, they can buy merchandise, they could tip, they could donate, whatever. The creator, the person they gave it to, gets 100% of that value. So it's interesting because a lot of people say, how can you give a creator 100% and be sustainable? Well, because we are an infrastructure provider and we are taking our cut at the point of sale of Moonstones, and then people use Moonstones however they want on Moonbeam. And at that point, I don't care, what happens, because guess what? We already took our cut, and it incentivizes us to have a symbiotic relation now with our creators to say, the way for us to make more money as Moonbeam and thrive is if you thrive, if more people are giving you Moonstones, right? So it makes us kind of linked with creators in their success. Moonbeam cannot thrive if creators are not thriving on the platform. And then this fundamental approach, it really like revolutionizes the way the platform can operate from a monetization perspective. So look at Twitch right now with the subscription discount kind of thing going on, where creators are finding out that if their subscriptions are discounted, it's actually coming out of their piece, some of it. Well, again, on Moonbeam, because we have Moonstones, the way we will stimulate our own economy, if we need to do something like that, is we would give people free Moonstones. And when we give people free Moonstones and they give that to a creator is now getting real money, 100% of it, in excess of what they would have gotten otherwise. So we have mechanisms in place to stimulate our economy now because we have Moonstones. We have a way to make it very transparent for how revenue works. It's a very simplistic way. We're not trying to confuse people and be like, do I get this gem and then it converts into a stone and then how many things? It's very simple. You give us whatever currency you have, you get Moonstones. Whatever you do with those Moonstones is your business. But when you give them to somebody, they get 100% of the value. And to us, when you look at ad revenue and things like that, we'll have traditional kind of mechanisms as well. But there's some very unique things we can do with Moonstones and marketplace stuff and with ads. So, yeah.
Okay, and I did have some follow-up questions because that does relate to some of the AMA questions. So the perception of your marketing copy is you say this thing like you keep 100% of the Moonstones, but then you also take 10-25% or something on the kind of the front end of it. But that was the perception. You guys were just like lying or something.
Okay, yeah. Let me address that if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
So what we say is creators keep 100% of whatever they're given. Okay, and that's true. When you go to a grocery store and you buy a box of cereal, the grocery store gets 100% of whatever it was sold for, right? You don't sit there and say, well, I was charged tax, so technically someone's lying, and it's how you think of it, right? Again, people are not giving Moonstones at a point of sale. Like it's not a thing that happens like in the moment. You buy Moonstones and you hang around with them. You have them for a while. You might have them all month, and you give them out whenever you decide to. And so whenever you decide to give them out, Moonbeam is not like taking money from the creator in the way Twitch and other platforms do. I would not assume that a individual who gives somebody Moonstones would have given them more or less had we not taken the cut on the front end, if that makes sense. So I see what you're saying because what we're doing is a different way. And the reality of like why no one does that is it's very simple. They want people to give them more money, and they think if they hide like the cuts and where the revenue is happening that you're going to pay more. So the creators, that's who they're going to take it from, because the creators aren't the ones like giving money. So they're like, hey, I'd rather do this behind closed doors, and no one's none the wiser. We're being very transparent, and I think that's the fairest way to do it, right? Just being open about it.
Okay, but let me see if I can bridge the gap a little bit. Yeah. Can I transfer Moonstones to you, and then you transfer it to somebody else?
No.
Okay, so it's okay. You immediately removes it from the system once you receive the Moonstones. Okay, got it.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. And then okay, one other question I wanted to talk about with the sustainability stuff was this concept of tech costs. Because you've said this a couple times where you say like, okay, your realm thing saves money, but I thought you meant that on the creator side, like, oh, I'm saving mental time because I don't have to post on other things. Are you guys saying that your realm system saves you tech costs? And how does that relate to kind of live streaming? And are you using like IBS? Are you using some of these other platforms? Are you doing a decentralized approach? What's your kind of thoughts on all of that, of how you're kind of saving costs?
Yeah, definitely. So no, we're not fundamentally like shipping some new compression algorithm that makes distributing live streaming content cheaper for us. What Moonbeam does differently, and it changes the cost structure, is it shifts the incentives around. When you are on one of these other live streaming platforms, in order to engage with your community there, or in order to grow your audience through that like modality, you need to be streaming, right? You need to be streaming. Discoverability doesn't exist really when you're not online. You don't have a chance of growing that audience on that platform, or using that platform as a funnel to your audience on other platforms, right? Discoverability is absolutely and intricately tied to your being online. And same thing with engagement for live streaming, right? If you are on, Twitch has been the platform we've talked most about, and it's the platform we're on right now. If you're on Twitch and you want to engage with your audience on Twitch, you better be live streaming. Like, I guess you can hop in chat. Most creators definitely don't do that when they're not streaming. And yeah, you have clips. They're on your channel. They can be found maybe. But that's the incentive structure for current live streaming platforms. You need to be streaming. Moonbeam introduces new ways of engaging with your audience, new relative to this entire kind of space, this industry, right? With posts, with short form content that goes beyond just clips, with kind of this robust chat experience. So even when you're not streaming, you can still be growing your audience. People can still stop by your realm. And who knows, maybe your friend is streaming in it, or maybe nobody's streaming in it, right? But they see a great conversation going on in the chat, or they see some interesting drama unfolding. They can join and engage, and your audience can grow. And your audience grew without you streaming, without you consuming bandwidth for the platform, and without the platform incurring those bandwidth costs. So fundamentally, yeah, the cost to deliver 1080p 60 frames per second, for us, it is the same as it is for any other live streaming platform. We did not invent some peer-to-peer things or some decentralized approaches. We will eventually, right? We will eventually, and we'll when we scale, we'll spin up data centers to reduce costs from like a kind of just when you have your own infrastructure, you can do that. But that's not what we're after right now. What we're after right now is demonstrating that when you have this community hub, you do not have to be streaming to engage your audience. You can, and when you do, your audience will be bigger than as if you hadn't, or if you'd just done this on another platform. So Moonbeam doesn't inherently take the unit economics of delivering content and change those. It changes the incentives for growth on the platform, which is what dominates the cost, right? You can say that the bandwidth costs are what dominate it, but only if the incentive is to consume bandwidth, right? So that's what we mean when we say that we're changing the cost of live streaming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but even just like a follow up on that, I think there's a perception on the internet that maybe the bandwidth part is very expensive, and you can't, make these platforms unless you're building out, I don't know, CDNs yourself. Yeah. Is that what is your thoughts on that, or is this stuff commoditized? Are there competitors in the market? Can you just use Cloudflare or IBS and it's fine, or what do you think on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Those technologies are certainly very difficult to build, and they're instrumental to delivering a very good product to users. Our goal on that front is to deliver the best quality that we can to users while maintaining a sustainable platform. Right now, we are not building our own streaming technology. We're using another solution. We're not actually using AWS's solution, but we are using like kind of a white labeled streaming technology media server. Our goal will always be to ensure that our creators are getting the best like streaming experience in terms of quality and reliability, while maintaining that the platform itself is sustainable financially. So we're continuously looking at new products for streaming, whether those are APIs or whether it is a very, very serious integration where you rent servers, for example. But we're continuously assessing new streaming infrastructure to use in an effort to reduce costs and change like the unit economics of the streaming piece. But we're confident that changing the incentive structure will be enough to make the platform profitable at scale.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. Switching topics again. So, I mean, LSF is a clipping service. It's for short-term content. What kind of stuff would you guys have for us, or just even about short-form content in general? And what is your thoughts on how to promote that?
Yeah, you mind if I take that one, Pat?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what we haven't shown you is we are actually working on a whole pipeline of short form content. You will have your realm, concept, right? That's more like community Discord-esque, but you'll have a For You kind of page, a For You feed, like a TikTok, like a short form, that feed that gets put in there. So creators who don't want to stream in a realm or don't want to live stream, want to do clips, want to do short form kind of things, they can, and it will go in that pipeline, like that distribution kind of pipeline. And for clips, we talked about that. We are taking an approach where we empower every individual creator in every realm. And so they're going to set for themselves the ability of like, can someone else clip my content, or can I only be the one to do that? That decision will be like a content creator decision. And then wherever they decide to put it, they can do with what they want. So the idea is, yes, Moonbeam will support short form content. We're working with some awesome folks who are expert short form content creators and have big communities they've built up. And they also see a need for something else. Like the best short form content platforms right now are also not working out for creators' needs. So again, Moonbeam is uniquely positioned to kind of fill that gap. And we are working on that stuff. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. And to tie it back even to the previous topic, right? That is our business interest, is to make those pipelines of engagement and discoverability things that are less expensive than live streaming, for 8 hours a day per person, making those incredibly robust, because that's our bet. We don't want to just be reliant on this one form of distribution. That's when you get these massive costs. So we want all these other pieces to work exceptionally well at driving people to your space, whether that is your profile or your realm, right?
That does make sense. Yeah, that's a huge part of streaming platforms, is the short form, especially these days. That's kind of how people kind of pull out. Okay, yeah, we've covered a lot, and I've gone over even like a lot of these AMA questions through our other conversations. I'm trying to think what we have left.
If I may,
yeah,
Taro, real quick, just something to think about. Being very candid, I know, like, we're reading in the Reddit, some of the skepticism. If you have any like really hard questions that you think like you might have, you might think we'd feel like, oh, that's really tough. Like, we're here to answer those. So like, if there's something that sticks out to you, maybe that we haven't even answered sufficiently, I'd like you to challenge us. And like, this is the time. Like, we're here. We have to kind of live up to having good solutions, because we're planning and been studying this. And so like, I just want everybody to know who's watching, and I want you to feel comfortable that if there's any hard questions and stuff, like, we're not afraid to kind of hear them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could just ask some of the specific ones, I guess, from the. I mean, I feel like I was trying to like put them in our other conversations already, but
yeah,
I mean, I'll ask this question about kind of other platforms, because the big ones in the space are Twitch, Kick, Mixer. Is there anything that you have any opinions you have about those platforms, any lessons that you kind of like learned from them that you can kind of like apply to kind of like your system?
Yeah. I think what we'll say is you'll see a commonality on them. They have a different paint color scheme, and like that's about, and a different revenue split, and like a little maybe bell and whistle here, but they're all failing. Like the problem, even with streamers now, like being able to stream everywhere at once, they're still not finding success. So this goes to like a commonality problem of the future of live streaming, whether it's Moonbeam or not. And the bet we have is it is, okay? But if you're listening out there and you're skeptical and you're just like, yeah, whatever, the point you should walk away from this AMA is that the future of live streaming will never look like what we see today. Because what we see today is an unsustainable system. Even Twitch, it would not exist if the world's most wealthy company didn't like subsidize it. It's on life support. It only exists because of one thing, and it's because it's owned by Amazon. Like this and every other competitor, they copied that model. It's like they designed a car with a fundamentally flawed engine, and they all have the same engine that just won't work, and it's going to break. And so when we think about like the future of live streaming, and it's very interesting that across the spectrum of platform, everyone is seeking an alternative. We're seeing this like ebb and flow of market share. Q2 data just came out that shows Twitch lost about 11% of the market share, YouTube people are trying different things. Like it's kind of like a desperation thing. It sucks. Like it needs to be solved. I'm a creator, and I want creators to like do what they love, and like actually be able to living it. And I don't want to see this art form die. And I think the fear that we have is like something radically different needs to occur. And so if what we're talking about what we'll be shown today looks really weird, and it's like what the hell is going on with all this stuff? It's because we believe the future of live streaming can look nothing like the old way. And it will have to be something new that no one's ever really seen. And so I would challenge everybody, even that's out there, even if you agree with moving on, that we have to challenge the current system, because the current system is broken and it is publicly failing. It's not an opinion. It is publicly failing. And the only reason it exists is because again, it is being kept on live support by some obvious, corporations in the world. And that is it. It's not because it's a good idea. It's not because it's set up in a really profitable. It's not because streamers are seeding. If this was any other business and we saw the trend across the industry to be that abysmal, that whole industry would just like, if it wasn't subsidized like watching it would never exist. But the reality is like there is value. Yeah.
I want to interrupt. I think that I'm getting some reports that your sound might be coming through lately. I can hear you fine on my end. But,
okay. They caught on what I was saying and they cut me off. Over to you, man. Maybe it's my audio is being weird.
Yeah, I would be. Apparently it's me as well.
And maybe they're onto us, Pat.
They're on. Yeah, I would be. Apparently it's me as well. Yeah, it seems to be everybody that's experiencing that. Maybe we cut to just the stream will resume soon and regroup. Try to see what's going on. Okay.
Sure.
I think we're back, and I'm glad we talked about this and solved the world's problem. No, I'm kidding. We're back. But hey, Pat, I'll hand it over to you. And I'm glad we talked about this. I'm sorry the audio went choppy there at the end. You can see it's probably my passion got picked up on the system there, and they wanted to silence us a little bit. But anyway, thanks for having me. I'm really awesome, really excited to have been invited to the AMA with your community. I want you to know that continue the skepticism. It's needed. and challenge us, because the only way we'll succeed is if we're challenged and innovate. So thanks. But yeah, Pat, over to you, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, I want to echo all those points. I've had a great time. These are incredible questions. It's honestly, it's a privilege, because there's a lot of skepticism in this space, and it's very deserved skepticism. Companies come along and, you know, they say all the right things, but it's a matter of executing and designing well from the start. So conversations like this, interviews with users, with creators, with moderators, community managers, producers, they really help inform our design. And, you know, the core of our design is to deliver an incredible product for people. So these questions were wonderful. I had such a great time. Very, very grateful for the invitation. And yeah, we'll be around on the Reddit thread, on BackerKit especially. So if you have additional questions, check us out there, on our socials, of course. But yeah, we're really, really grateful for the opportunity to talk with you all about this incredible problem. It's a massive problem, and we're proud of our solution. And, you know, we're gonna refine, make better on the market.
Yeah, and I had a great time as well. I think that you guys have clearly thought about a lot of the stuff more than other competing platforms that have failed, is what I will say. So that's cool that you guys are kind of thinking about this stuff. And yeah, I mean, one other thing that I'll mention is I know there's a bunch of other kind of Twitch kind of creators that do kind of like meta type conversations. You should probably reach out to them, and they'll probably have chats with you as well. But yeah, I had a great time, and yeah, thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, we have our video. We'll play on the outro roll. But I'll say this now. I'm looking forward to the first Moonbeam clip on LiveStreamFail one day. So it's going to be cool. So we'll see what happens.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, streamers. You've made the world laugh, cry, cheer as one. Most importantly, you've made the world watch. For that, we want to thank you. Today, we honor the ones who put in the work for the love of the game.
Cutting the feed in 5.
You casted aside your individualistic dreams and came together as one voice.
4.
We need more time. It has to be now. Get ready.
You trained them to mash that subscription button and to come back for more. Always more.
2.
They try to be you. They envy what you have.
1.
And to celebrate, we're releasing a limited time edition skin of what?
You don't know me, and I can't see you, but whoever you are, you need to hear this. This started off beautiful. We built something great, something that brought us together, a place to call home, to talk, to learn, to play, any respite from the world and its unforgiving storms. And then they came.
My face on the screen now!
They came with their plans, with their greed, with their hope. They told us that we were great, and they were right. They told us that we were worth something, and they were right. We are worth something. And it's that same big, beautiful truth that they used against us. They didn't inspire some huge cover-up, some grand conspiracy. They just simply whittled away at who we used to be. So I say it ends today. Boost this signal and then log off, shut down, touch grass. Don't forget that we did this before. We did this before, not them. We can build it again. Build it better. With autonomy, with creative freedom, with fair compensation. We choose where we put our time, where we put our love. The rebellion has a new name.
Moonbeam.
Moonbeam.
A future where we forge our own path at our own pace, where we compensate ourselves fairly and protect each other from hate. They thought those things wouldn't matter, but they do. And we'll do it without them. Together. Today. Spread the word. From here, how far we go, who escapes with us, we control that outcome. It's up to us now. For the love of the game,